I want you to take a second and imagine the coolest, most undeniably defining thing you could possibly remember from the 1980s.
Oh, man. That's a big question.
Right. I mean, think about it. Maybe it's a mixtape you recorded on a physical cassette tape,
Yeah,
carefully labeled with a Sharpie.
definitely.
Yeah.
Or the completely bizarre, totally normalized reality of just smoking a cigarette in the back row of a commercial airplane.
Yes, exactly. Or even like the absolute unapologetic swagger of a mullet.
Yeah, you can't forget the
You
mullets.
really can't. And the thing is, those weren't just random items or trends, right? They were the absolute center of the cultural universe back then.
They defined the era,
They totally did. Now, I want you to imagine taking a West Indies versus Pakistan cricket match and putting it on that exact same pedestal.
which is wild to think about now.
It really is, because 38 years ago, that matchup wasn't just, a sporting event. It was the literal definition of cool.
Hmm?
It was mandatory viewing. But today, today, they are fighting for their absolute lives in what is basically the suffocating basement of the sport.
It's a massive shift.
It's huge. Welcome to the deep dive. We are looking at a deeply nostalgic and honestly slightly melancholic piece of sports journalism today. It details the upcoming West Indies versus Pakistan Test cricket series.
And it's such a rich source text to pull apart.
It really is. And our mission today is to explore how time fundamentally alters the landscape of sports, how absolute titans eventually fall, and this is the key part, how a modern-day basement battle actually holds a much more desperate kind of human drama than any glamorous championship clash.
I completely agree. It forces a complete recalibration of how we view athletic legacy.
Right.
Because we have a set of facts here that bridge this enormous temporal gap. It demands we look at both the absolute peak of a sporting mountain and the deepest recesses of its valley simultaneously.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the imagery our source material uses to set the scene is just so visceral.
Fantastic writing, yeah.
It really is. We have to start by emotionally connecting to what this rivalry used to be, to truly understand the sheer gravity of where they are right now. The author explicitly compares the West Indies-Pakistan test matches of the 80s to those cassettes, the smoking on planes, and the mullets.
Yeah, those specific cultural touchstones.
Right, and they explicitly use the word cool, not, technically proficient, not tactically sound. Cool.
What's fascinating here is that deliberate choice of the word cool. It's really the skeleton key to understanding the entire era.
How so?
Well, coolness implies a cultural resonance that completely transcends the boundaries of the sport itself.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah, when a sport becomes cool, you have people who don't even fully grasp the convoluted rules of Test cricket tuning in purely to witness the spectacle.
Right, they just want to be part of the moment.
Exactly, it becomes a central pillar of the zeitgeist. The text notes these two sides were as close to must-watch as Test cricket was in that decade. I mean, they featured the absolute best players competing in the most iconic series.
It's basically the equivalent of a blockbuster 1980s action movie franchise.
Oh, that's a perfect analogy.
Right. You think about the biggest action stars of that era, the explosions, the one-liners, the pure, unadulterated swagger. People literally lined up around the block on opening night just to be in the presence of that energy.
The world just stopped for it.
The world stopped. But if you try to take that exact same movie with that exact same earnest, chest-thumping swagger and you release it into today's cinematic landscape,
It completely bombs.
it bombs. It totally bombs. The world moved on, the aesthetics changed, the expectations changed.
The world moved on.
Yeah.
That is essentially the entire thesis of the author's opening argument.
Right.
The text explicitly states that the 80s moved on and left a lot of things behind in their wake. And that includes, in a very real way, West Indies and Pakistan cricket.
Wow.
Yeah, it introduces this profound philosophical concept of being orphaned by time.
Orphaned by time. I love that phrasing.
It's powerful.
Yeah.
You have teams and institutions that were perfectly, flawlessly adapted to the ecosystem of the 1980s. But ecosystems evolve, right?
They have to.
Global economics shift, the underlying technology of the sport advances, and the athletic culture changes. So being orphaned by time doesn't necessarily mean you suddenly forgot how to play cricket.
Right. They didn't just lose their talent overnight.
Exactly. It just means this specific brand of magic you possessed is no longer the currency of the modern realm.
That is so true. I mean, think about your own industry right now, or even a piece of technology you used to completely master.
Oh, sure.
How does something go from being the literal center of the universe, the standard by which everything else is measured, to just evaporating, left completely behind by the wake of progress?
It's a jarring thing to experience.
It's incredibly jarring. It's an uncomfortable transition to witness.
Yeah.
And to really grasp the severity of that transition for these two specific cricketing nations, we have to look at the timeline.
Right, the timeline is crucial here.
The source text points out that it has been 38 years since the greatest series between these sides. 38 years.
I mean, 38 years is basically a geological epoch in professional sports.
Wait, stop. I have to interject here, because this is where my brain completely short circuits.
Yeah.
We're talking about the undisputed kings of 80s swagger, the teams that defined an entire generation.
Right.
And the article states that as they prepare to play each other again in the Caribbean, it is a, quote, basement battle.
A basement battle.
It is explicitly framed as a clash between the two lowest-ranked sides in the current World Test Championship cycle. Are you telling me there isn't a single team in the world playing worse than these former Titans right now? Is it just bad luck, or is it something deeper?
It is definitely something deeper. The statistics provided in the source material are incredibly sobering, and they completely validate that harsh reality.
Lay it on me. How bad is it?
Well, out of all the nations competing in the World Test Championship cycle, West Indies is sitting in 8th place, and they are narrowly ahead of Pakistan, who are in 9th.
8th and 9th.
Yeah, they occupy the literal bottom of the barrel.
Okay, for anyone unfamiliar with the mechanics of this, we need to clarify what a World Test Championship cycle actually is, because I think it makes that ranking so much more devastating.
It really does.
This isn't just like a weekend tournament where you can just have a string of bad luck over a few days, right?
Precisely. The World Test Championship is a grueling, multi-year marathon. It takes place over roughly 2 years.
2 whole years.
2 years, yeah. And nations play multiple bilateral series against each other, accumulating points over that entire period.
Wow.
And Test cricket itself is a 5-day format. A single match takes 5 full days of intense physical and mental exertion.
That's exhausting just to think about.
So when you end up at the bottom of a multi-year cycle consisting of 5-day matches, it completely eliminates the variable of bad luck.
Because the sample size is just too big.
Exactly. It is a massive, undeniable sample size of performance.
Which brings us to the actual win-loss records the author provides. And
Yeah.
they are grim.
They're brutal.
Pakistan has lost 12 of their last 16 tests, 12 out of 16, and West Indies have won just 1 of their previous 10.
If we connect this to the bigger picture,
Yeah.
the terminology the author uses to categorize this decline is absolutely vital.
Okay.
They call it a sustained rot rather than a snapshot.
A sustained rot.
Yeah. And that distinction is critical to understanding the psychology of both of these locker rooms right now.
Let's pull that apart. Because, like, a snapshot is just a bad season, right?
Right.
Your star bowler gets injured, maybe your captain retires, or you just lose a few incredibly close matches by a razor-thin margin. It's an anomaly. It's a snapshot of a temporary struggle.
Right. And every legendary team in history experiences a bad snapshot.
Of course.
It's the natural cyclical breathing of professional sports. You win some, you lose some. But a sustained rot implies an institutional systemic failure. It crosses entire generations of players.
It's deep-rooted.
Exactly. And the text supports this grim diagnosis by pointing out a very specific fact.
What's that?
It notes that in the previous World Test Championship cycle, West Indies and Pakistan also finished 8th and 9th, respectively.
Oh, wow. So they were at the bottom last time, too.
Yes. This is not a new development at all. It is a compounding historical weight that they are dragging onto the pitch every single time they play.
Consider the psychological toll of that reality for a second.
It's massive.
These are professional athletes. They are fiercely competitive, elite performers who have literally dedicated their entire lives to mastering this discipline.
Yep.
Yet they are walking into a locker room, lacing up their boots, knowing that statistically they only win maybe 10 to 25% of the time.
In a format that takes 5 grueling days per match.
Right. Losing a 90-minute soccer game is hard enough. But losing over 5 days in the blistering Caribbean sun, knowing you've lost 12 of your last 16 matches,
It breaks you down.
it has to. The muscle memory of the entire organization just becomes tuned to defeat.
It creates a pervasive culture of negative expectation.
Negative expectation, yeah.
When a team is trapped in a sustained rot, The players aren't just fighting the opposing team anymore.
What are they fighting?
They're fighting the historical gravity of their own jersey.
Oh, man. That's heavy.
It is. Overcoming that requires far more than just practicing harder in the nets. It requires a complete psychological rewiring of the entire squad.
And that brings us to the incredibly tense, almost paradoxical nature of this specific upcoming matchup.
The basement battle.
Because despite this crushing history of sustained rot, the text frames this series in the Caribbean as and I'm quoting here, rare opportunity to put points on the board.
It is the ultimate paradox of the basement battle.
The source states that for the West Indies, they are the clear, if not necessarily outright, favorites.
Yeah.
I am just so fascinated by that phrasing. Clear, but not outright.
Well, the hesitation in that sentence is doing a lot of heavy lifting, and it captures the dynamic perfectly.
Right, because how can you be confident?
Exactly. You cannot mathematically or logically be an outright confident favorite when you have only won a single match in your last 10 outings.
It's impossible.
Confidence at that point is just an illusion. Right. But you are clearly the favorite because you possess home field advantage against a team that has lost 12 of their last 16.
So what does this all mean? I want you, the listener, to think about your own workplace right now.
That's a good way to frame it.
Imagine being in a competition where you are ranked near dead last. You have been struggling for years. The sustained rot has completely set in.
You're at the bottom.
And suddenly, management pits you against the literal only person in the building who is currently underperforming worse than you are.
The only one.
Everyone expects you to win, not because you are excellent, but purely by virtue of you not being the absolute worst.
The pressure of that specific scenario is uniquely terrifying.
It is. It's a phenomenal burden.
Right, because if a top-tier team loses a championship clash to another top-tier team, the disappointment is profound, obviously.
It's sad they lost.
But it is rationalized. You were beaten by a brilliant opponent. There is a certain honor in that defeat.
You gave it your best against the best.
Exactly. But in a basement battle, if you are ranked 8th and you are playing at home and you lose to the team ranked 9th,
Oh, no.
where do you hide? What is the narrative you possibly tell yourself in the press conference afterward?
There is no narrative. It's the ultimate fear of validation.
Yeah.
A championship clash is a quest for glory. But a basement battle is just a desperate, clawing fight for survival.
Just trying to stay alive.
It's about not being the one left holding the wooden spoon. If the West Indies fail here, it basically confirms every dark fear the fan base has about the terminal state of their cricket.
However, to be fair to the source material, it doesn't just paint a picture of hopeless despair for the hosts.
True, it does offer a glimmer of hope.
Because if they are the clear favorites, there must be a mechanical, tangible reason why. They aren't favorites just because they're playing in the Caribbean sunshine.
Right, and this is where the text pivots to the actual arsenal the West Indies possess right now.
It's a silver lining.
It states they have built up a, quote, deceptively good repertoire of seam bowlers.
Deceptively good.
Now, hold on a second. I have to push back on this.
Go for it.
If they have a deceptively good repertoire, like an amazing pace attack, how on earth do they have a result sheet that reads 1 win in 10 matches?
It seems contradictory, right?
Completely. How can a team possess a genuinely lethal weapon and still be trapped in a sustained rot?
That goes straight to the heart of how a sporting ecosystem functions, particularly in a complex game like Test cricket.
Okay, explain that.
It's like having the world's most elite, highly trained sniper unit, right? But you've sent them into a massive battlefield without any air support, without infantry, and without any supply lines.
Oh, man, that's a great analogy.
The snipers, which in this case are the seam bowlers, they might be doing their job perfectly. They might be hitting all their targets.
Doing exactly what they're supposed to do.
Yes. But the broader battle is still being comprehensively lost because the rest of the army has completely collapsed around them.
That makes perfect sense. In cricket, your bowlers can take wickets all day long, but if your batters are constantly collapsing and failing to score runs,
Exactly.
or if your fielders are just dropping routine catches left and right, the brilliance of that bowling attack is completely nullified.
Doesn't matter how good they are.
The engine is a Ferrari, but the transmission is just completely missing.
Exactly. The text calls them deceptively good. Because if you only look at the team's overarching win-loss record, you would assume the bowlers are terrible.
Because they keep losing.
Right. Their brilliance is masked by the systemic failures of the broader team. But when you isolate that specific bowling unit, The talent profile is genuinely formidable.
We should probably define exactly what a seam bowler is doing for the listener, just because understanding the physics of this makes the text's description of these specific players so much more compelling.
That's a great idea.
A cricket ball has a pronounced raised stitching that runs right around its equator. That's the seam.
Right. And a seam bowler's primary objective is to deliver the ball so that it bounces exactly on that raised stitching when it hits the pitch.
Right on the seam.
Because the pitch is hard, hitting that slightly elevated, uneven seam causes the ball to deviate sharply and unpredictably off the surface.
Which is terrifying for the batter.
It is. The batter has a fraction of a second to read a ball traveling at immense speed, and suddenly it cuts left or right just before it reaches them.
It's an absolute nightmare to face. And the text gives us the specific personnel of this West Indian sniper unit. It names 3 active players and gives us a very deliberate characteristic for each of them.
Let's break those down.
First, we have Shamar Joseph, and the author highlights his blistering pace.
Consider the physical reality of blistering pace in the context of what we just discussed about seam bowling.
Okay.
We're talking about hurling a rock-hard leather ball at speeds exceeding 90 miles per hour.
That is so fast.
The word blistering is visceral. It implies heat, friction, and immediate physical danger.
It fundamentally alters the geometry of the pitch. I mean, when a batter knows blistering pace is coming, their footwork changes.
Their whole stance changes.
Their reaction time is compressed to literal milliseconds. It brings a profound element of physical intimidation into the contest.
And ironically, physical intimidation through blistering pace was the absolute hallmark of those legendary, culturally dominant 1980s West Indies teams.
Oh, wow. That's such a great connection. Shamar Joseph provides this tiny, violent echo of that golden era.
He provides the raw kinetic energy.
Right.
But a pace attack cannot survive on speed alone, which brings us to the second bowler mentioned in the text, Jayden Seales.
Yes, Jayden Seales.
The text specifically points out his impressive record against Pakistan.
I find this so fascinating from a sports psychology perspective.
It's a massive detail.
It's not just stating he's a good bowler overall, it specifically highlights that he torments the exact team they are about to face.
If we connect this to the bigger picture of a basement battle, the value of that specific record is just immeasurable.
How so?
Well, in a matchup between 2 teams ravaged by a sustained rot, collective confidence is practically non-existent.
Right, nobody believes in themselves.
Both locker rooms are absolutely riddled with doubt. But when Jayden Seales walks onto the pitch against Pakistan, he possesses empirical proof of his dominance over them.
He knows he can beat them.
Pakistani batters know his record. Seales knows they know it. It creates this invisible psychological tax on the batter before the ball is even released.
Oh, man.
They hesitate for a microsecond because history tells them they are vulnerable to this specific individual.
And in a sport dictated by fractions of a second, that hesitation is fatal.
It is.
It's like having a psychological cheat code. So we have the blistering kinetic energy of Shamar Joseph, we have the psychological dominance of Jayden Seales, and then we come to the third pillar of this attack, Kemar Roach.
Roach, yes.
The word the author chooses to describe him is incredibly striking. They cite his agelessness.
Gaugelessness. It stands in such stark, brilliant contrast to blistering pace, doesn't it?
It really does. Blistering pace feels youthful, almost reckless.
Very raw.
But agelessness implies a deep, enduring mechanical wisdom.
Absolutely.
It suggests a player who has survived the sustained rot, someone who has seen the mountaintop in the valley and who intimately understands the subtle rhythms of a 5-day test match.
The veteran presence.
Exactly. When the blistering pace isn't working or when the team is totally exhausted on day 4, the ageless veteran is the load-bearing pillar that keeps the structure from collapsing.
He provides the tactical anchor.
The anchor, right.
And the text argues that this specific triad, the speed of Joseph, the psychological edge of Seales, and the ageless wisdom of Roach, should be enough to withstand a critical blow.
And that blow is the final piece of this whole puzzle.
A missing piece, yeah.
The text notes the unavailability of Alzari Joseph.
This raises an important question about the structural integrity of a team trapped in a sustained rot.
Because they're already so fragile.
The author says they should withstand the blow.
Mm.
But should is a very, very fragile word when you only win 10% of your matches.
Exactly. If you are a championship team firing on all cylinders, losing one star player is just a bump in the road.
The system just compensates.
The next guy steps up. But when you are the West Indies right now, relying entirely on this deceptively good pace attack because the rest of your ecosystem is failing,
It's a completely different story.
losing Shamar Joseph isn't a bump in the road. It's losing a massive chunk of your only functional weapon. The pressure on Shamar, Jayden, and Kemar just amplified exponentially.
The margin for error goes from razor thin to absolutely non-existent.
Non-existent.
If one of those remaining three has an off day or tweaks a hamstring, there is no safety net beneath them.
Nothing to catch them.
They are sourced to cover for the missing arsenal, while simultaneously dragging the immense psychological weight of being the favorites in a must-win basement battle.
Here's where it gets really interesting as we synthesize all these moving parts. Think about the massive journey we have taken today through this single article.
It's been quite a ride.
We started in the cigarette smoke-filled, cassette-playing, mullet-wearing peak of global cultural dominance in the 1980s.
The definition of cool.
We looked at a rivalry that literally defined what it meant for a sport to be cool. And then we plummeted 38 years into the future, crashing into the brutal mathematical reality of the modern Test cricket basement.
We transition from analyzing the sociology of a global phenomenon right down to dissecting the survival mechanics of a sustained rot.
But even in the absolute depths of that basement, among teams losing 12 out of 16 matches, we found this incredibly compelling narrative of survival.
We really did.
We found a deceptively good sniper unit, armed with blistering speed and ageless wisdom, standing in the Caribbean, carrying the terrifying burden of expectation.
It reveals that the drama of sports isn't just found in the hoisting of trophies,
No, not at all.
The human element is arguably much more exposed and much more fascinating when athletes are just fighting against the dying of the light.
It's incredibly relatable because ultimately none of us stay at the peak forever.
That's true.
A sustained rot in a career, a creative slump, or a failing project, none of that erases the legacy of your past victory.
The past still happened.
The 1980s happened. The
Right.
greatness was real. But when the era shifts, you cannot rely on the ghosts of your past. When you find yourself in your own personal basement battle, you have to survey the wreckage.
Figure out what you have left.
Right. Find your own deceptively good skills, whatever your version of blistering pace or ageless wisdom is, and figure out how to survive the match in front of you. You have to work with what remains.
And as we conclude our analysis of this remarkable sporting dynamic, there's a lingering question that the text naturally provokes.
What's that?
It's one worth pondering long after this discussion ends. When two fallen titans finally collide in the basement, as the West Indies and Pakistan are doing right now, what is the historical reality of that moment?
Oh, that's a great question.
Are we simply acting as witnesses to a tragic, inevitable final chapter, the last dying embers of a 1980s fire finally burning out?
Right.
Or is hitting absolute, undeniable rock bottom the brutal but mandatory requirement for the foundation of a completely new era to be poured?
Wow. That is the perfect thought to leave on. Are we watching an ending or the painful mechanics of a new beginning? Thank you so much for diving into the depths of sports history, psychology, and the relentless passage of time with us today. We'll see you on the next deep dive.